vein of optimism that they're tapped into. Good luck. So, Paul?
Yeah, that's the VW Golf, isn't it? That
well, Carvel is the VW Golf, but Dave Cox...
Dave Cox, sorry.
I was talking to Dave Cox then.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, the BMW M3.
Yeah. So they do have some cause for optimism.
Yes, and the reason I was being confused by Carvel's car is that that's the one immediately ahead of them in the on the timing screen, who is just 2 laps ahead, and at the moment the BMW is reeling in the VW in the battle of the German makes. So there's something to look out for there. We've had the Mosler back out onto the track and
show off.
Is now on its first flying lap, having completed its lap out of the pits. And so, as I say, in a moment we're expecting Mike McInerney to bring the leading.
Are we also expecting the Caramba car? Because they've just been performing a circus act here, standing, in fact, walking on one of the fresh new wheels that they can put on the car. Is this a newfound source of energy? Are you on something? Huh? Hey? He's refusing to answer the question. No, he's just glad to be up and about again. The car is, I think, expected in, and I'm very much in the vicinity of number 2, which is coming into the pit lane, I believe. Well, they don't look as though they're ready for it. When do you think, Paul?
Next couple of laps, I reckon.
They're fast asleep at the moment.
Oh, are they? Well, Mike McInerney has possibly been more economical than his slightly faster teammate, so he may be getting more fuel consumption, better fuel consumption out of the Ferrari. Doesn't really go together talking about fuel consumptions and Ferraris in the same breath, does it? But as I say, Mike has been out there for more than an hour already. He's been in the car since 8:15. It's now 9:20. So it will have a little bit more fuel in it yet, depending how much fuel it had in when it started the stint. But certainly within the next 5 minutes, I would be expecting that car to come in. And then I'll be interested to know whether Mike's going to then do a double stint, and they're just going to fuel him and send him on his way, or whether we're going to have a driver change in that car. Remember,
Paul, yes, I just have to draw your attention. You probably can't quite see it, but I was talking about Team Caramba, and they're refueling at the moment, and they have waiter service because they have a trolley with the refueling. What do you call them? The Bowsers, the churns. That 2 of them have gone in, and it's really quite professional. And what's more, they put the churn on top and they plug into the, what do you call it, the exhaust, which allows the air out as the fuel goes in.
That's the vent.
That's the vent, thank you very much. And so, it's been a long day.
You're telling me.
I'm not looking for sympathy, Paul. And now the trolley is being removed, having done its duty. So it does look like a sort of form of waiter service at the
yes, I mean
back of the car.
It's an interesting conundrum here for the teams, because by refueling more quickly they don't save any time, because the regulation demands that the car stays in the pits for a minute and a half as a mandatory thing for every pit stop. But of course, anything you can do which actually makes the process easier and which removes the chance of any mistakes is got to be something that you're going to do, because fumbles in the pits or things that go wrong in the pits can slow you down, and so they're going to use every opportunity to just improve matters. And I suspect that's what we're seeing in evidence there, Brian.
Yeah, and on occasions, of course, when they do wheel changes and so on, then they've got a lot of wheel nuts to tighten up, and so it does need a fairly, a sense of urgency. And I've got Mr. Dunlop alongside me. How many tyres have you got through so far?
Not enough is a simple answer to that, Brian.
Not enough. He's always tried to flog a Dunlop tyre. How many do you expect to get through?
We're on schedule, I think, for about 1,1700 tyres. With the weather set fair, we had such fun and games last year. you can thank this blessed weather on Dunlop. We bought 2,500 wets and cutting facilities all night, so that's why we're enjoying the Club Med, I think.
I bet, yeah, the team are delighted, aren't they?
Yeah, it's been the smoothest of all of James's 24-hour races from our perspective. It's the weather's been good. We've had no dramas, no structural problems. So yeah, very, very pleased.
Well done, excellent. Does seem a lot, though, doesn't it? Eh? 16. What did he say? 16 or 1700?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Battle is truly joined in Class 3, I beg your pardon, between this Aston Martin and the Lotus Evora, the Marcos Racing International Lotus Evora, 49 and 57. They're still in third place. Well, they're not in place, but in third and fourth places. And they are separated by less than a lap. They're on the same lap, but it's more than half a lap, so it's about a minute and 30 seconds still separating them. But they're both really going for it. Fastest lap of the race for that car for the number 49 Aston Martin, which I have a feeling we put Dan Dazil in, didn't we, at the last pit stop. So Dan Dazil going very rapidly indeed in the Aston Martin, although even his fastest is not as fast as the Lotus Evora is managing. So a real humdinger of a battle there. After 16, nearly 17 hours of the race, they're still going at it, separated by less than 2 minutes.
Hey, big decisions. Now, you were expecting the lead car, number 2, the Ferrari, to come in with Michael McInerney, but the team have made the decision they're going to leave him out for another hour.
Well, he's going to need fuel.
He does, but not immediately.
Okay.
Oh, well, no, that's not him. That is number 46, that's the Lotus, that is making its pit stop. That's the Welsh car.
Oh, this is the Lotus Elise, yes.
Yes.
Right.
And in comes the Aston. This is the Hugh Chamberlain supported car. I'm not sure whether the car supports Hugh or Hugh supports the car and the team effort. On go the caps on the exhaust. Out gets the driver. On come the fuel bar guys to do their work. In goes the fuel. I think Hugh's gone to bed. He's not allowed to do that, is he? Oh no, there he is. Right. So second churn goes in, whilst a third is ready.
This has been an hour and a half that car's been out there, and it was Paul Mitson that you put into it. And so next, this is the Lotus Elise I'm talking about.
Yeah, I got that message.
Yeah. And it's...
I would have thought he might be in for another stint.
It will either be in for another stint or it will be Ben Gower getting into it.
Right, I will establish that for you. At the moment, I thought I'd hang around this area until the Aston has cleared the pits, and I wondered if we might just see a fuel stop, but I don't think we're going to see a fuel stop yet for Michael McInerney. Perhaps he's a bit more economical than the other two drivers.
Well, his pace has been a little bit slower, so it is possible. And of course, the car may have had some litres of fuel left in it when they refueled it last time. So it may have ended up with more than 75 litres in it, because that can easily happen.
The answer to the question is Ben Gower out on the circuit? Is no.
Hello, Brian. No, not on the circuit yet, but I will be soon.
Will be soon. Who's gone out again?
Paul Mitson. He just came in quickly. We just
second stint.
no, we're concerned that there was an engine mount problem. So yeah, it's all good though.
You're concerned that there's an engine mount problem, but it's all good.
Yep. Apparently there isn't. We just checked it.
Okay, they're going to push now because they've checked the engine mount. There's no problem, and so they can push. So Paul goes out for another stint. I'm not sure how long a stint, and then Ben Gow will be taking over.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much for that, Brian. The other thing I was going to tell you, the other thing I was going to tell you is that the team manager for car number 6 has just been summoned to race control.
That's the Aquila.
That's the Aquila, that's right, and that can only be because Bob Burridge is driving it too fast. He's been lapping regularly down in the 2 minutes 10s. Now, the other thing that's happened just in the last couple of minutes is that the Beckett's Echo has returned, because I can hear the television again, so that means that Robin Murphy must have arrived. Have you, Robin?
Might have done.
Yeah, what I have to do is turn the volume down on that television.
It actually doesn't. I tell you what, there is no volume up. It obviously picks it up, so I shall.
Have you got a remote control unit?
Oh, yes, I have.
Well, on the remote control unit, there's a volume button.
Yeah.
You press the volume down.
Yeah.
And then that echo will go away.
What do you reckon about mute? Let me try it again. Hold on. I'll just see if I can get life in the old beast here. This is great. I do love this tech stuff. On-off buttons. Okay, it's gone on. Now, push mute. Push mute. Yes, mute is pushed. Is that worrying you? Can you hear anything?
Well, we have to say it loudly, don't we? Yeah, no, I can still hear it. Never mind.
Okay, in which case I'll switch off. The only reason I had it yesterday at all was there was a little match being played the other side of the world, and
I don't mind the television. It helps. It's just the volume switch.
Right, well, that's odd because the volume is switched off. So I don't know. It's obviously. Hey, I'm just glad I've got electricity out here.
Absolutely, I never used to be there when I. Yes, quite.
No, quite.
Have you had a good night?
Morning, boys. Well, I have actually. I've had a good morning as well. I've been here for quite some time. In fact, I was listening to you guys on the radio coming in, and I'm really pleased to say that
I bet Rosie produced you a hearty breakfast.
And a hearty breakfast and a hearty supper when I got back last night. In fact, hearty vat of wine,
spoilt rotten,
vat of red wine, deep hot bath.
Poor old Chris Hartley's been sleeping in his car. There's no justice.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is, Brian.
I hate to interrupt this family party,
Yes.
but Chris Hartley has rejoined me from the pits an hour early, I hasten to add.
Good man.
Because for some extraordinary reason I left a blank. Well, it sort of matched my mind at the moment, but anyway, I'm only too pleased to hand over. I will come and join you very shortly. Do you wish me to come bearing gifts, Paul? Wasser? Water?
Paul? I can't hear Paul.
Well, maybe he's gone for that natural break. What about Steve Wood? Is he there? I wonder if it's something to do with me.
Have they switched themselves off?
We seem to have battery in the pit lane, I can hear myself in the headsets.
And I can hear you, Brian.
Oh, that's nice, Robin.
Yes. One thing I did do this morning, Brian, on the way in, I've been chatting to quite a few of our customers here today. Nice to see them.
You carry on whilst I hand over to Chris.
Absolutely. Everyone appears to be having a thoroughly good time. I've spoken to lots of people who've been having their barbies through the night, camping out over here, and having their meals by the light of their headlights. And everyone seemed to have a thoroughly good time. The grandstand already got a sprinkling of people, and it's just that time in the morning where the heat of the sun is beginning to take that early morning chill off things. So I would counsel all those who've perhaps kept their lily white bodies under cover for most of the year. It was squeegily hot yesterday, and there were a few people yesterday evening I saw walking around with very pink flesh indeed. So please do look after yourselves. I know we haven't had much of a summer this year and we're unaccustomed to it, but it's very, very tanning this sun and very burning. Particularly when it's this time of year and you're not expecting it. So please look after yourselves. It's a a long afternoon ahead of us till the race finishes at 4:30.
Wise words indeed, Robin, because all of those things could be put together to mean be careful when you're driving your car out there, because temperature gauges are going to start going up. We've got now what is going to be a fairly warm day ahead of us. Of course, what we had yesterday was the race starting at 4:30 when the temperature had already dropped a little bit and was then going down. Now what we've got is a temperature, an ambient temperature going up. So, be careful out there is very wise words for the drivers of the cars. Make sure you keep an eye on the temperature gauges. Make sure you keep an eye on the car and how you're treating it, because it's going to be a very long day. For some of us, it's already been a long day, and it's we're just coming up to. In fact, we just had 17 hours of the race completed, so 7 hours still to go. You can have many. We had the 6 hours here at Silverstone a little while ago, and that seemed like a long race. We've still got that to go. So. Still, Mike McInerney trudges on in this Ferrari, showing remarkable fuel economy, and it's still on. I've not missed a pit stop, have I? No, it's still on 18 pit stops for the Ferrari, 19 for the Top Cat's Mosler now, as a result of that last stop when we think that Julian Draper has taken over at the wheel of the number 3 Mosler. Mike McInerney. With this, as I say, good economy run in the Ferrari, and it's continuing to. Where are we? Here we are. Mike McInerney. Then he's been out since 8:14, so an hour and a quarter. In fact, very nearly an hour and 20 minutes. He's been out there. So it's been a good long stint, and a lot of fuel was obviously on board. For him to go out and have a go with. Another improvement in the lap times from car number 49, the third placed Aston Martin. So just improved once, it's now improved again. We're fairly sure that's Dan Dezil at the wheel of the number 49 Aston Martin, which has had a really, really good run in third place. It may well be 16 laps behind the second place car, the car immediately ahead of it, but it's leading its class just. They're still having this great battle with Cor Oizer's Marcos Racing Lotus Evora, car number 57, which has got Jim Brodie in it at the moment. There goes the Top Cat's car past us at Woodcote.
I'm sorry, Paul. I was just having a chat with our lords and masters at ARB. Then they're just correcting this volume problem we've got down here, and that's okay now.
Fantastic.
Can I just ask you, because I just caught the tail end of it, but it seems to me, I was just looking down for likely battles and fights and stuff. It seems to me that the Nick Me Racing Mob, number 49 in third place overall, probably have a glance over their shoulders at the 57 Marcos, because there's only one lap between them, and the Marcos at the moment, they're sort of trading each other lap for lap.
Absolutely. I mean, talk about looking over their shoulders. They've got a stiff neck because they're looking over their shoulders all night long. It's been the race that we've been watching out for pretty much since we lost the Aquila with a very high temperature problem that Bob Berridge brought the car in just after dawn. Reporting that it had said 130 degrees on the temperature gauge. Well, that's gone out again, so there is something still to look out for. Although, having said that, Bob Berridge's last lap was somewhat slower. But no, the battle for third place and leading class 3 is the closest thing out there. There's less than a lap between them. They've just gone through again now, 1 minute 40 seconds separating them. That's also 3/4 of a lap, or 2/3 of a lap is all it is separating those two. Not only the class victory, but also a place on the podium at stake. And they're both giving it everything they've got. I mean, Cor Oizer's times in that car that he set yesterday afternoon have certainly showed that the Lotus Evora has got it in it, but the other drivers don't seem to be quite as committed as Cor can be. And So although we've got the tantalising situation of the slightly faster car behind the slightly slower one, they are matching each other pretty much lap for lap. It's a fascinating contest to watch.
It reminds me of a couple of 100 years old sort of prize fighters standing there in one of these fights that had no duration, no rounds. Keep up to scratch.
Fight to the death.
Exactly.
Yes.
If you can still stand up, you're still swinging.
Yeah.
Because also there's another one further back, not that far back, but the Kevin Clark 68 car in 6th place is not that far ahead of the 27 Top Cat entry, and again they seem to be trading blows lap on lap, and Top Cat's going a little quicker now. That's
not been quite such a dogfight. Just to change the analogy for a minute, but it's not been quite such a dogfight as the other one has, because the Top Cat racing car was involved in the battle between the Aston Martin and the Lotus Evora, and was trading punches with those two. Then it had a problem out on the circuit, and was stuck out at the loop, and was brought back from the loop in through the back end of the paddock, and lost lots of laps, and it's now trying to catch those laps back, which is why it's fighting with Kevin Clark, about 10 laps behind the class lead of the other class, and what is amounting to 3rd place on the podium. So that's not quite such a dogfight that's run and run as closely as the battle between 49 and 57.
The other one I was watching as I was listening to you on the way in, the remarkable comeback by Dave Cox and his family and mates. They were a couple of laps down on Rod Carvel. They've got to within a lap of them. They've now on the screens gone 2 laps down, but they're lapping considerably quicker than the Carvel car.
Yeah, well, as a BMW M3 should indeed lap faster than a VW Golf. You wouldn't buy one if it didn't, would you?
I wouldn't buy one, but that's just personal. Just let's not go there.
But no, exactly. So, but it's on a comeback, whereas Rob Carvel's Golf is there by virtue of other people having had problems, and when you do that, you're always in danger of being caught up by people on comebacks. Talking of comebacks, Bob Berridge is continuing to lap in the Aquila, but his lap times have suddenly disappeared. He put them in fairly quick early on, and I suspect that the reason why the lap times have suddenly disappeared is that the temperature gauge is going up again, and whatever they did to lower it hasn't actually done the trick. But you weren't here at the time, Robin, but Brian interviewed Bob Berridge, and he went through all the emotions of being very stubborn and bloody-minded about it, saying we're not going to give up. And then he decided that he was going to give up.
That's an interview I'd like to have seen rather than heard.
Yes, Bob Berridge doesn't usually give up that easy.
No, he's a redoubtable character, isn't he? I just could picture him standing toe to toe with Brian, and Brian nodding and thinking, I can't understand you.
Not at all. I hear the rattle of spanners in the background, which either means that somebody's coming to get me or Chris Hartley's in the pits.
Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Robin.
Morning, sir.
Right, yes, I am in front of a car with a puncture. The 77 Dave Cox BMW has come in with a left rear puncture. Jason Cox was in the car, so he radioed in. The team were expecting him, knew the puncture was on the way. So first thing they're going to do is refuel the car, and then they will jack it up and replace the tyre, which is probably off the rim now, because I think he spent a long time on that lap nursing it home. So,
which means that his fight back has now got to start all over again.
All over again, yeah. Jason's going to get back in the car, so they're not going to change drivers at this opportunity. Jason will get back in very shortly. And while I was dozing in the car for a while, looks like the main casualty is the team you were just talking about, the Aquila, dropped out.
Well, yes, it has. Sorry, I'll let you finish your question.
Well, yeah, that, and have there been any other major dramas over the last couple of hours?
Well, yes, the other one, of course, is the MJC Ferrari, which well, what might have been, was certainly in with a shot of winning the race. It never really got close enough, it has to be said, to threaten seriously. But it was certainly within 2 laps of the Top Cat Mosler. So add that 3 laps to the McInerney Ferrari. And it was being driven very rapidly indeed when the car suffered a cracked exhaust, and that did sufficient damage to the whole geometry of the car, and the engine mapping and everything was compromised effectively by the cracked exhaust. So they had to withdraw the car altogether. So we lost that car, the number 1 Ferrari, which, as I say, it was one of those, they kind of found a solution to the seat problem that they had. Remember, the seat was sliding backwards and forwards. They'd kind of nailed that, and by putting loads of cushions behind John Gore, they managed to get him to the flag, or get him to be able to put in some good lap times. But I just want to stop that thought, because we've got the leader in now, and this is Mike McInerney coming in after what has been a very long stint indeed, approaching an hour and a half on a tank full of fuel. And my understanding is that they're going to leave Mike in the car, Chris, but you can tell us what actually happens with the Eclipse Ferrari as it comes in.
Callum just heading down there now. I just tried to find out whether the driver had imparted any information on that BMW as to why the puncture had happened.
Oh, and, right.
It's getting to that time of day where they're getting lippy now. I said, yeah, it just went flat. So whether he got a tag or went off or just picked up debris, I'm not sure. But
the worst thing you can do is to show up in a pit lane at this time in the morning, looking all sparkly and bright.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. You haven't seen me, have you?
That's why you haven't bothered then.
Right, Phil Keane is getting into the number 2 Eclipse Ferrari. So Phil getting back in. So expect that one to fly. They are changing tyres on it as well, having already refueled it, and all looks fairly routine. It's got that gaffer tape on the back left corner.
It would be worth having a word with Mike if he's got gives you the opportunity, because it was 38 laps, I reckon, on that stint for Mike McInerney. Not as far as it's been on a tank full. It's been 40 laps in the past.
Okay, we'll go and grab him in a second, and if he's willing to talk, I'll sit back in a minute.
Excellent. Yes, I was talking about things that had happened during the night, really, when I interrupted myself. So we lost the Aquila, although that is now circulating again. The Ferrari, the MJC Ferrari, is a casualty that's gone forever, I'm afraid. Another of the leading runners that's gone forever was the Bratislavi Porsche, which had fallen a long way back, but was making a comeback. And it got itself up to 14th, 15th, something like that. When it had a major engine problem, and also then suddenly decided that it wasn't worth carrying on and was going to retire. So all the comeback drives, not all, but seemingly all the comeback drives, suddenly kind of disappeared into nothing, and we were left with the battle between this very steady and, careful what I say, seemingly reliable Ferrari in the hands of the McInerneys and Phil Keane, which was being driven very, very metronomically, very steadily, very consistently by Sean McInerney and Phil Keane throughout the night, because Mike didn't drive it at all during the night. He's only driven it since dawn. And the Top Cat's Mosler, which has never quite been able to be on the pace. Now, just a note to Robin, looking at the screen, don't believe that best lap time that's being shown on the number 3 car. They've got a problem with the transponder on that car, and it set fastest lap of all at one point yesterday. And that was removed from the screen, but the one that's on the screen at the moment, because it didn't become a fastest lap of the race, it's just become the best lap for that car. I'm still pretty dubious about that time being a real time. I think it was a timekeeper induced time, if you see what I mean.
Right, not one to worry about. I'm interested in, as always, in the little guys, because again, I've spent since I arrived this morning quite a few people to chat to, just generally the customers out there. Most of them, all the ones I spoke to anyway, having had a really good time, thoroughly enjoying themselves. But it's always particularly with the youngsters along.
Okay, that was a rather dramatic pit stop for Intersport. You were getting your nose in the engine there.
Yeah, we had just a fractured wire, really frustrating, but it stopped the battery charging, so I don't know how long it had been broken, but it just died, so then we had to get it towed back, which took the longest to get it back rather than fix it. But we're back out and we're running, and we've got to make up 5 laps now to get back where we was.
Well, the team did a brilliant job. I mean, we were obviously watching the whole thing there. I mean, you know, you can tell you've all been working together a while.
Oh yeah, I mean, we all know the car inside out, and you know, it's, each to their own, and when you get something like that, just all hands on and pull bits off till you find out what's wrong.
Well, still a while left, so do you think you can make up what you've lost?
I'd like to think so, but you know, just with a bit of good luck and a bit of bad luck, and there you go, we'll take what comes.
Are you going to get in the car again?
Yes, I'll have another go.
Okay, all right, well, good luck for you.
Cheers, thanks.
That is now called that old BMW, so whenever you refer to that car, it has to be known as that old BMW.
Fine. Well, and that young driver, I have to say, I've never seen Willie Green referred to or referring to himself as William Green.
No.
Sounds like the sort of thing his mother might have said when she wanted him to come very quickly
Come
and
and
smartly to
come
attention.
and do the dishes, yes.
Yeah.
Why haven't you fed the cat yet, William Green?
Iron your socks. I've just seen, it's always rather sad at this stage of proceedings to see anything conk out, but the just past me on the low loader, making its way back to the pit garages, so they're going to have to stand to attention. The number 80 Syncro Motorsport Honda Civic, Tim Stanbridge, etc. Andy Hack started that car, didn't he? They are listed, where were they? They were listed as being 7th in class, I think. But that one's, anyway, they're 6 laps down on the Sub-Zero car. And that one is making its way back to the pit, so that pit crew can...
And a stop-and-go penalty for overtaking under yellow flags for number 27, the Top Cats Racing Marcos. Another car that's trying to do a comeback, having had problems. You were talking about him having that battle with that BMW a moment ago, Robin. Well, it got past the BMW because it's on a bit of a charge, on a bit too much of a charge, I think, because, as I say, it overtook under yellow flags, and a penalty of 30 seconds to be taken up penalty box in the pit lane within 3 laps for that car then.
One can only guess that could well have been at the scene of the accident, or rather the conking out, if you like, for the Synchro Motors car, because it didn't look to be damaged externally. I don't think it's biffed the scenery or anything. I think it's mechanicals. But just looking down that order again, one of the things that always intrigues me, Paul, is, and this is the sort of thing the teams don't like to think about, but it always amuses me, is who's winning the pit stop race. That is to say, who's done more than anybody else, also who's done fewer. Obviously, the Dave Cox outfit, I think 21, that's level peggers at the top, isn't it? With the Scuderia Vittorio car, 64, they've done 21 as well. Do we have any sort of a record as to how many of these stops are mechanicals and normal, and how many are penalties?
Well, I do, but I need notice of it to pull out of the computer at the right time.
Well, that's at some stage, probably next week.
Yes,
at some stage,
it will probably happen.
That will be interesting, because, and I'm in no way, please, being pejorative about this or criticising anybody or whatever. It's just that in the 6 years this event's been running, I don't think I've ever remembered so many penalties. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because if people do things wrong, the penalties are there to be applied, and as long as it's fair for all, that's all that matters. But there have been a rash of them this year, and it's quite interesting because we've seen a number of perhaps the quicker cars pick up penalties, and once you've got 4 or 5 penalties, that is a considerable time penalty.
Absolutely. I mean, last year we had the spectre of 1 lap penalties, which were extremely confusing, because what happened, they were added to the timing screen. All the penalties that we've seen this year, so you didn't actually kind of take the penalty anywhere. You just suddenly found that instead of having done 418 laps, you'd only done 417 laps, which became very confusing for everybody. So they're doing all the penalties this year by proper stop-and-go penalties. Whether there's been any more of them than usual, well, I don't know, because this is only the second Britcar 24 hours that I've seen. But it's kind of par for the course, I would say, for this type of event. They are obviously fairly strict on doing them. But I think they've kept them, how can you say, innocuous. They haven't been really threatening, and they seem to have all been well justified. I mean, Bob Berry went and complained about overtaking under the yellows, but I think I haven't got any complaints, put it that way.
No, well, I quite agree. I've stood, as you know, stood down there last night quite a long time watching them coming in, taking penalties, and I didn't see any drivers getting antsy about it, to be honest. I don't think there were any complaints from the cockpits that I could see.
I think it's a bit like rugby, there's no point.
But indeed, and also taking, accepting it. But no, it is interesting because obviously in a race of this length, race this distance, time spent in the pits is critical. And in the early years, it's half a dozen years we've had this now, but certainly when we started the Britcar 24 Hours, that was sincerely complicated because the refueling was in a separate area around at Brooklands, so that you couldn't be sure whether a car had actually come into the pits. It simply disappeared, and then after a while you realise, well, no, we can't see it, and it's not going round. Therefore, it must be refueling. And then quite often they finish refueling and then have to drive into the pits to do all the other bits and pieces. And sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they drove on from refueling. Well, I'm glad that situation no longer exists.
Tell you what, one year, Robin, go along to the Nürburgring 24 Hours, because what they've got there is they've got the long circuit and the short circuit, so that when you're going off on a...
Do you want that off?
No, that's fine. It's been a surreal week for you. Tell us what's happened.
It has been a little bit weird, to be honest. Not every weekend is like this, but I've been here with a team raising money for Forces Charities by competing in the Britcar 24-hour endurance race, which has been fantastic. We've been really enjoying it.
Just back from Afghanistan.
Yeah, I brought my squadron back in May, and we're very lucky not to get any fatalities, but we did have casualties, and that sort of hardened my resolve really to do everything I can for those that help our fallen and their families and the wounded. So we were given this opportunity to sort of come here and do this, and we're making the most of it. It's been really good.
And it's the whole team as well, it's not just the drivers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we've got a couple of soldiers in the pit crew who have been trained by Jota, who are the team that are running the Mazda for us. Those guys are so professional, it's fantastic, and it's been brilliant bringing the military crews alongside with them for them to learn, and I think they've quite enjoyed having us alongside, because there's quite a lot to do with endurance racing that really appeals to us, because it's all about teamwork. It's not about sort of individual action and things like that, and clearly perseverance and tolerance and all the rest of it. And I did a 3-hour stint last night from 1:30 to 4:30, and I can tell you it is quite an endurance part of the endurance race. It's hard work.
And the team, as you mentioned, have done a fantastic job, because there was a bit of contact in the first or the second stint after yours, and they fixed it in an hour, and now it's running better than ever.
Yeah, and they're so resourceful. It was absolutely great. I mean, it came in, the car had we'd been nudged by somebody else, and it sent him across the gravel and nose on into a tyre wall. So the car was recovered back here. They've got a huge stock of parts here that they brought with it, but the crash structure which they needed, they found a press car sat outside, removed the press girl from it. It's a new company car, and it's now sat outside completely missing its front end, because they took the entire front end off it last night, and it's now driving around in our race car out there. I don't know how she's going to get home, because they've got to reassemble it for her afterwards.
Someone's definitely going to need to give that lady a lift.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, it was fantastic. It was really good as they just smashed into it, got on with it, and we went then. I mean, that really knocked us back. But this is endurance racing, and as I speak, we've got another 7 hours to go. You know, anything can happen. But we went from 44th, we're now back up in 28th, and we've got a 11-lap buffer in between us and 29. So, you know, we're on an upward trajectory, not downwards, and we're using the medium of sheer bloody mindedness to move us up the field as much as anything else.
Well, I'm sure that's something you have a lot of in abundance.
Yeah, I think so. It certainly isn't straight line speed in these little Mazdas, but they handle beautifully, and in fact that makes them a really good car to go endurance racing, because they're so friendly, and when the unexpected happens out on track, then you can do things about it, and you've got options, so you know you can drive around problems.
Are you going back out again?
Yeah, I've got another stint. In fact, I think I'm next out, so I'll shortly be getting changed. But I'm I'm really looking forward to that. In fact, I was sad when I came in, even after the 3-hour stint. I didn't want to come back in, but I had the fuel lights on. I was on vapour, so I couldn't argue that I hadn't heard them and I could stay out for any longer. Just been enjoying it so much. It's an amazing event, and sort of walking around here has been really good. We've got a lot of soldiers here as well as a lot of guys who sort of brought their families along. Britcar have been very generous with getting them in and getting access for the charities as well. And of course, on the back of that, we brought some bits and pieces of our own. So there's a Challenger 2 sat overlooking the first corner, and we had an Apache attack helicopter here yesterday, which
got a lot of attention.
That was really good fun. Well, I mean, I was doing we went down in order to get a couple of photos of the car underneath it, which really finished up with me doing donuts in the grass with an attack helicopter spinning up above me, which great PR opportunity, but to be honest, I just wanted to do it because you don't get to do that every day. So it was kind of cool. So yeah, it's been really good.
Well, it's fantastic to have you here, and I'm so pleased you're enjoying it so much. Good luck for the rest of the race.
Thank you very much indeed.
In between my first two stints, I didn't have a lot of time, and now I've got a little bit of a break. I've had some sleep. I might go and have another lie down, but it won't be difficult to get motivated because the race is going so well. We're all, so keen to just keep doing what we've been doing and try and get as high up the order as we can. So I'll be ready and raring to go when it gets to the final 2 hours.
Chris, can you ask him a supplementary on my behalf?
I will, yes, Brian.
Because I want to know how readily he is going to accept sub-editing of the very lengthy article which he's going to write about his experiences in the 24, and it's all going to be heavily subbed in order to get into the space. So how is he going to accept that?
Brian wants to know how you going to accept the fact that you could write quite a long piece about this for Autosport, and it's probably going to have to get quite heavily subbed. You're going to have to try and condense all this to quite a few words, aren't you? And the deadline's 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. No, it's not really.
Oh, if it was, I think I need to retire now. Hopefully,
safety car.
If we keep going
safety car out.
and get in the race, it should make for some interesting reading in a future edition, I hope.
All right, Ben, thanks for your time. Good to see you. Good luck for the rest of the race.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Cheers,
we have
Ben.
a
Thanks
safety
very
car
much.
period. We don't know why yet or where, but the safety car is on the track. And Paul, it seems a lengthy while since we had the last one.
Turn the microphone on. 3 o'clock in the morning, to be precise. It was that was the last time we had the safety car out, and it is now not quite 10 o'clock in the morning. We'll call it 9:59, shall we, just to be pedantic. In fact, I think it was out at 9:58. That's the first time we've seen the safety car for a good 6, nearly 7 hours. What we don't know is quite what's caused that safety car to come out. But with a bit of luck, we'll do some cycling through some TV.
We're just under 6.5 hours to go, so we don't want it to be too long, do we? Or do we?
Well, period. We don't want it to be too long. No, I mean, I was just doing some calculations on record distances and things, and I got caught out midstream by the safety car coming out.
Right.
And, there's various things that have to happen when safety cars come out, like yellow backdrops and things to the lap chart and what have you. No, so the safety car, we were saying during the night to Ben when he was up here, that the safety cars, with the one exception of that very long intervention, have been mercifully short, and they've tended to come out, get the job done, whatever it was that needed to be done, and then get out of the way again, and racing has been able to continue relatively unaffected, which is always a good thing, because safety cars by their very essence disrupt the flow of the race, but the less that they do so, the better it is, because inevitably you end up being fairer to some than you are to others, not in any deliberate way, but it just it suddenly introduces, it's like playing a game of chess and then somebody suddenly saying to you, oh, well, let's throw the dice, shall we, to see who goes next. You sort of think, oh, why should we do that? We've been doing this all the time. Anyway, into the pits comes the Aquila, number 6. For those of you who haven't been paying attention, this car lost an awful lot of time earlier on, 40-something laps, due to massive overheating. Bob Berridge was pretty much ready to throw in the towel when he spoke to Brian earlier on, but they've got the car going again. Have done some half reasonable laps in recent times, and Bob has now brought the car into the pits once more, either just to get another churn full of fuel to get him going a bit longer, or possibly to hand over to somebody else. So Chris will be able to tell us that, no doubt. Whilst the safety car is circulating, you almost get a free driver change, and Brian has been on the phone and has established that.
News from the front, the car slid off at Club, well, I don't know.
Oh, right.
At the moment, the recovery vehicle has very nearly moved it from Club up to Abbey.
The safety car in this lap, so...
Yeah, well, there you are. So it's not a great duration safety car. Could this be the car, the offender behind it? And that looks like, well, I can't actually pick up the number. Chris Hartley might be able to in the pit lane.
Brian, yeah, I'm down here in the pit lane, and I'm here with Pollyanna Woodward from the Gadget Show. Now, we've been talking throughout the commentary about this project you've got. You've got a simulator in the back of Garage 4C, and you've been replicating what's going on in the race. Tell us a bit more about it.
Yeah, well, we have indeed. We've got a fantastic simulator that's worth about £17,000, but it's all commercial tech that we're using. So if someone wanted to build it, they actually could do it for that kind of price. But it's as realistic as you can get to a real track. We've got movement, we've got the hydraulics, we've got the real sound, and it's a lot of fun. It was a lot trickier than I thought it would be to get to grips with it for the first few laps I did. I was thinking, oh my word, I'm going to lose this for the team royally. But then kind of when you get into the flow and you're doing long stints, then yeah, it comes second nature and you really find your zone. It's quite funny.
And it just shows how realistic these games are. I mean, we had unfortunately the Nissan's gone out of the race, but we had the guys that came up, they were gamers basically, very good gamers.
Actually, I met up with Jan last week, and he actually took me out in a car on Stowe Circuit, so I got to drive one of the 370Z Nissans. Oh my word, it's amazing, and he's a superb driver. But yeah, he came through the driver academy and started out on kind of games, which is amazing. But yeah, it's as realistic as it could possibly be. I love racing and I love tracks, and kind of I've been out on track days quite a lot, so I know what the comparison is, and it's very realistic.
And you are literally replicating. You sat in the cockpit for hours, aren't you?
Yeah, we're doing the 24 hours. Jay started the race, so when it kicked off at 4:30, did through till 7:30. So that was his 3-hour stint. Then I took over for 3 hours. John did 3 hours, and now we're just finishing our second lot of 3 hours. Jace will be back, and we're kind of down the home straight now. The last 6 hours remaining.
So if you're looking at the number of laps you've done compared to the guys out there, how's it faring?
I think we're officially 4 laps ahead of the leader. It's very, very, very tight. In other words, I kind of wish they hadn't told us that, because now when I'm doing the laps, if I kind of go off in a corner, I think, oh, those seconds count. So yeah, it's very close.
Have you had any moments?
Yeah, I've had a few of them. In fact, I think I did kind of come into the pit lane and wall it, which was actually quite funny. I was fine out on the track, but put me in a straight with like walls. Not a good idea, but no, it's been a lot of fun. You get used to it quite quickly, and I managed to come out with some pretty good times. I think my best was 2:07. So yeah, it's not too bad.
You doing pit stops and safety cars and all of that as well?
Yeah, do pit stops. We've added laps on for the safety cars, just what these guys have had to do as well. So it is as realistic as it can be. Yeah.
And you're also checking out some energy products, aren't you, to keep you going?
Well, yeah, we've got relaxation products as well. So we've had things like eye masks and gadgets that check how deep you're sleeping, how long you're sleeping for, to see if you can keep revitalised. Lamps. There is literally all sorts that we're testing out. It's a lot of fun.
You've got a good job, haven't you?
Yeah, I would say I do.
All right, not jealous at all. Finally, what do you think of the event? You were here yesterday, the big build at the start. It had a real good feel to it, I thought.
It did, and I got to do the start flag, which was absolutely amazing. As I said, I love racing. I'm absolutely a massive fan of Formula One. I used to do the grid for touring cars and superbikes, so I've always loved live events, and it was a real treat, a very proud moment to be up there and seeing the cars just start. It was stunning. This place is buzzing. It's brilliant.
All right, it's really good to talk to you. Thanks for your time, and good luck for the rest of the race.
Thanks very much, Chris.
All right, Pollyanna, thanks very much. Cheers, take care. Thanks very much. Just to answer one of your earlier questions about the Eclipse car.
I thought you'd forgotten.
No, I hadn't forgotten. Michael McInerney was all happy. It was a little bit shorter than some of of the other stints, but they had no problems. And they're talking fuel economy now. So the team, John Griffiths and the team, came over and congratulated on a very consistent stint. And the first thing they said was, that was great. The fuel economy that you're putting out there was absolutely spot on. So not just thinking about, as we've heard, going fast now, but they're thinking about strategies more and more and more as we get into the final stages.
Yeah, very much so, Chris. I was saying before you came back on air about that very fact that they seem to have decided, look, they've got this advantage. They've got a problem. What's happened? They've gone missing on the track. As soon as I start turning my face away, start looking at something else, they've gone missing on the track. Was that what the safety car was about? Because they're coming slowly through Brooklands now. They've been off the track. The car is damaged, and it's coming slowly back on the track. This is a race leader, number 2, that we were just saying what a great job has been done. Phil Keane, who got in the car, has gone off on his second lap or so of his stint. The car from here, admittedly it's about 300 yards away, but it looks as though it's been damaged to me. I think it's down on the left wheel. It's had a left rear wheel damaged, and so the car has been damaged. It's coming into the pits, and as a result of that very slow lap, which we'll get up on the screen in a minute how long that lap was, it's
4 minutes 18.
4 minutes 18, so it's 2 minutes out on the circuit.
Yeah, it's
less more than that. It's less 20 minutes. It's less 20 minutes. It was 4 minutes into the pits, and then it was 20 minutes on the previous lap. So it's lost a lot of time out there, and I wonder if that was what the safety car problem was about.
If I could just say, as usual with these things, they come along in bunches. There were 2 cars in 2 separate incidents, and one of them you'll notice, and rather sadly, is the Red Camel Jordan's car number 84. That ground to a halt on the entry into Aintree. They've got it hooked up, and it will be back in the pits before long. But that's another one that's made great progress, and he's slipping down the order and is giving the Aquila a bit of hope, because they're now only 1 lap down on it.
Who was in the
14?
I was going to say the Eclipse Ferrari, because
Phil Keane.
It is Phil Keane, and he's only just taken over from Michael McInerney, hasn't he?
Exactly right, yes.
So Phil, maybe, was it on new tyres?
It presumably was on new tyres, and it was on a full tank of fuel, but, Phil's an experienced driver.
Whether that's sufficient explanation.
I would think it's more likely to have been contact with another car. They put some gaffer tape on the left rear, was it purely a puncture?
Chris, are you in attendance? Chris Hartley?
Absolutely, I'm right behind the car, and they've got the fending tyre off the left rear puncture, but they are now looking around the wheel and at the back of the disc, so some work is being done there, which does suggest that it could be damage that's happened because it's been going around with a puncture and the left rear corner's been dragging on the floor, or
no sign of other damage.
So no, it's also quite hard to tell because that was the corner that already got lots of gaffer tape over it, but there's no sign of any other damage elsewhere. Okay. So I'll find out what's going on when they've sorted the car out and get back to you.
Yeah, such as the pace of that, as I say, it lost a good 15 minutes on that lap. And that's lost it, not only the lead, but it's lost it 5 laps in addition to that lead. So slowly catchy monkey. The Top Cat Racing Mosler now leads 425 laps completed, and it's a lead that it's drawing away from a car that's stationary in the pits and a car that it's going faster than. Well, the rest of the field is going faster than it, with the one exception of the Aquila, which is, having had its pit stop, still out there making up ground, but too far behind to make any impact, I think, on the race.
It does. It's safe, as it were, from losing second place, unless it's a very extended pit stop, because the third place, number 49, the Nick Me Racing Aston Martin, is a further 11 laps adrift. And so it would take some time, I think, before that second place was at risk to the Class 3 leader, the Aston Martin number 49. And in fourth place overall, we have second in class, and that's the well, what is described as the Marcus Racing International. That's actually the Core car, is it not? Which is 18 laps down on the leader, 1 lap behind Nicholas Mee Racing's Aston Martin. So really, there's a lot going on at the moment. Top Cat Racing number 27 is 5th overall and is currently 30 laps behind the racing leader, or if you like, 12 laps behind the nearest car ahead of it. That is Core Oizers. So there are big gaps to fill, and it means that it's unlikely. I see, by the way, that the Intersport BMW, I don't know if you got an explanation of why it had an extended visit to the pits last time, Paul, but they had an issue, and there was what I call a real sense of urgency in the pit stop, but it was bordering on panic because they had a real problem. They got fuel going into it, but the alternator belt broke, and so they had to get a quick replacement on. They did it very well, but it did cause them to lose quite a bit of time.
Right, I've got the story from Eclipse. I just spoke to John and to Sean, and you can imagine they're absolutely gutted. He said to me how things can change just like that, because it's been absolutely smooth, plain sailing pretty much, hasn't it, up until this point. What happened was, why it lost so much time, the rear anti-roll bar snapped at the end of Hanger Straight and punctured the tyre. And the officials then would not let Phil drive back to the pits on a punctured tyre. So they were stuck down there at Stowe for quite a long time while some deliberations were going on. Eventually it got towed backwards.
Peter, it was going so well. You were running in 5th overall. You're now obviously dropping places. What's going on?
We have to change all the pads. We've got no pads left, so we're not going to be able to stop it. So we've got a couple of fast drivers going in later on, so we wouldn't have any brakes left. So we changed all rear pads, front pads. It's taken a bit longer than we thought.
Right, so you're changing those pads now?
Yeah, we are, yeah.
So, if that's all done okay and the team seem to be getting on with it well, you'll be back in the car and back out?
Yes, yeah. Playing catch-up, yeah. We've dropped a couple of laps, but I think we can do it. It's a bit of time left.
Well, apart from that, it's been incredibly reliable so far.
Yeah, it has. The car's gone sweet. It's just one of the best 996s I've driven for quite a while. It's the 4th time I've done the Britcar, and the engine's strong and the car's been prepped right. Just a problem with the brakes, so I'll keep your fingers crossed. I'm getting a bit frustrated now. I want to get in the car.
Yeah, okay, well hopefully you'll be back in soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Mechanical breakage, let's not lose sight of that. Yes, well, how things can change. But, we've still got a 6-hour race ahead of us, so still things can change, and I'm sure they will. We've just got to try and piece what we've got back together. Another car which has got problems, which I was going to draw attention to, but for all the other dramas that we had, is the number 6, the Dorset Racing Porsche, Paul Winter, 66, is in the pits and has been there for quite a long time, Chris. So I know you've got other things on your mind, but assuming that, in fact it's gone now, hasn't it, the Eclipse Ferrari, so you can have a look at the number 66 Paul Winter Dorset Racing Porsche to try and fathom out what's going on with that car, because it's been in the pits now for 20 minutes or so, and we also had one of the Ginettas coming in with some bodywork damage, having clipped somebody at Luffield a little while ago. There goes the Ferrari round again, and it seems to be pretty much okay, lapping in 2 minutes 14 in the hands of Phil Keane.
The Red Camel Jordan car that was conked out over there during that safety car period when they had the other problem down at the bottom of the circuit, that will have been recovered. I was going to say, guys, one thing about this place, the circuit configuration here at Silverstone, regardless, is that a car that goes off anywhere on this circuit can now be retrieved and safely brought back to the pit garages without going on the circuit. They've got incredible access all the way around this circuit, and I've seen them being towed in and out throughout the length of this race. But that car's gone, and now it's means that Mardi Gras Motorsport, number 88, moves up to 2nd in class 4. I seem to remember Mardi Gras Motorsport, didn't they win their class in the very first Britcar Britcar 24 Hours, Brian. Do you remember that? I think Mardi Gras were one of the original winners.
But I'm afraid that's about as good as I can offer.
It's just loyal supporters of the 24 Hours, and it's good to see them getting a car up there again. Just as it is, I know we've mentioned this a number of times since the beginning of the race, but after the trials and tribulations that Warren, etc., suffered at Top Cat Racing, to have 3 cars currently at this stage of the game in the top 8.
You've stolen my thunder. I agree with you absolutely. They've got 3 cars in the top 10, or if you prefer, 3 cars in the top 8. Robin, you know, fair dues. That is an enormous achievement, isn't it?
Absolutely. They're different cars as well. It's not as if, they got one set of parts for, 3 cars the same, and they lost everything just a few weeks ago. They've had to build it up. And you and I were talking to Warren on Friday. I mean, you could still see he's devastated by it, but they've got their act together. And I think even he's amazed that they've got here and they're running these different cars, and he'll be doubly amazed, I think, that they're all doing so well.
And the second Top Cat, number 27, which is the Marcus Mantis, is, I notice, within a lap of the Intersport BMW, so it could move up the order to 5th, which I'm sure would please them mightily, although that's going to take quite a long time, because I noticed from the lap times that it's only a couple of seconds difference. In fact, is it in the pit lane or what?
I don't understand. It hasn't got a red light, but it's had a very, very slow lap, hasn't it?
Well, yes. So, has it got a problem? We'll discuss that later.
Which one's that? The
number 27, the Marcos of Top Cat.
It's just had a pit stop.
So it's just its out lap.
That's its out lap. Yeah, the 27. Marcos, yeah.
Yeah, I was confused by that because it was showing a lap time of 2 minutes 21, which is only a couple of seconds actually short under what Kevin Clark's last lap was, or whoever's in, and it's not Kevin Clark, it's Adam Hayes who's in that car at the moment, so it is going to take quite a long time before the Top Cat Marcos is in with a chance. Hello, and now our screen is telling us that in 6th and 7th places overall, we have the 27 and 53 Top Cats cars. So the number 53 Class 3 car is now 7th overall and is 4th in class. So Top Cats Racing are in 1st, 6th and 7th places.
Yes, that'll be due to the Dorset Racing Porsche number 66 having that long pit stop, which Chris went to find out about, but as always happens with these things, as soon as he finds out about it, the car gets fixed and gets sent on its way. But tell us anyway, Chris.
It was essentially a brake pad change. They were monitoring the brake pad wear. They knew they had to do it at some point, and now called them in, and it took a little bit longer than they were expecting. There's some fairly fiddly nipples in between the pad and the calipers, which just made it a little bit tricky for the guys. So longer than they'd hoped for, but a pad change, and Pete Morris has now gone back out in that car. So they've lost a place, lost some time, but as you say, it's still got the race to go.
Fascinating lap on our screen now. 2 minutes 09.847, the fastest lap of the race for this particular car, the Eclipse Ferrari, and that is because Phil Keane is at the wheel, and of course he's in a determined mode, having lost 6 laps to the Top Cats Mosler, which is leading the race on 429 laps completed, and so he is obviously in the groove and in the mood to hoist it back into the lead again. Now, how long do you reckon that?
You're one of the mechanics for the Red Camel, say at Lyon.
Yes.
What happened there?
Well, I think we got a small fuel pickup problem within the petrol engine. So we're just missing out on the last couple of liters within the tank. And so we fell without petrol on the track basically. So now it was towed back. Quickly refuel. Tried to restart because all the lines are empty. And luckily went quite okay. So we're now off.
So that's it. You're away now. Hopefully no more problems.
Hopefully. So a little bit earlier refueling for next time to prevent the pickup problem again. And hope we can make it to the end.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
don't think it can be done because I would suggest that the Top Cat's car can be extended if it needs to be, but it doesn't need to be just yet. So there'll be people doing the same calculations all up and down the pit. No, at least people doing calculations on the pit lane.
Yes, and perhaps presently we have 6 hours and 7 minutes remaining in the race only.
And the leader, number 3, is in the pits now, but I think this is its scheduled stop. This has Draper in it at the moment. This is for stop 20 for the new leader, the Top Cat's Moser, which has now done 430 laps, and it's 10:21 in the morning. And so that was 29 laps for Julian Draper, and on the cycle that should now go back to Henry Fletcher.
That, I think, was the anticipated changeover from my memory in the pits a short while ago.
I mean, they've been so consistent in that team, just doing an hour or whatever, a little bit more than an hour. Damage for that Ginetta just going through there, the Gemco Racing car 47, Aaron Scott's car, which has lost its front bodywork. I think that was the one that was involved in a little bit of a schmozzle at the at Luffield a couple of laps ago.
Paul, has it slipped under the radar the fact that number 57, Corroy's car, has actually gone into the lead of its class? It's on the same lap as the Aston Martin, which is only 5.78 seconds behind, so I think that the Lotus has managed to slip past.
Well, it's done it on the pit stops, Brian, because that the 49 Aston Martin has just done a pit stop 4 minutes ago and is on its out lap at the moment, and so we will have a pit stop from the Lotus Evora in a matter of minutes.
Which will restore the order.
Restore things back to the way that it was before. Yes, 9:06. Jim Brodie took the Lotus Evora out, so he's been out for an hour and 15, nearly 20 minutes at the wheel of the Lotus, but by staying out there a little bit longer, so he's been able to take the lead of the class and third place.
Paul, yes, beg your pardon, coming into Aintree very, very, very slowly, Aquila.
Ooh.
And so slow that he's lost forward motion. He's parked it up just off track in a bit of safety runoff. Lights are still ablaze. I'm looking to see those turned out because I'm sure that he'll want to do that, but
did they park it on the outside or
outside?
So in other words, it's in a very rescuable position.
To be honest, Brian, as I was saying earlier, and I have to say I am impressed by most of the changes to Silverstone because they always do seem to think about these things, I suppose, in terms of F1 and MotoGP, etc. They have to, but there is almost nowhere around this circuit now where you can't be recovered off track. So rather than, as we were mentioning earlier, trailing around the track with bits hanging off or that sort of thing, or having stoppages, I think they can rescue them from anywhere. Marshals are now with the car.
We've just watched number 84 pirouette over there at Luffield. It looked as though it might have stalled. It got going again. It came out on the racing line on the exit of Luffield, looking as though it might just be heading for the pits, but it carried on, and so that may have just been a simple driver error, which doesn't need actually any. That's the red Camel Jordan, by the way, which is a car you have a registered interest in, Robin.
Well, that's only just, I think, come out of its pits after having conked out on the run through the loop.
It's probably on. Yes, it would be on its first flying lap, I fancy, or is it still the first flying lap, I think. But it was a bit of a problematic.
Great stint for you. Thanks to the McInerney's having a slight issue in the gravel, you're now 5 laps ahead. How did it feel when you drove past them?
It feels good. It feels good, obviously, to have the lead finally and to gain a 5-lap advantage, but it's a long way to go.
Yeah, there is a long way to go, and it's very hard work out there. It's obviously getting much hotter as well. How are the tyres coping on the track?
The tyres are all right. The fronts were going off a bit, but they had already done a stint even, so it's not too bad actually. It's just hot in the cockpit.
So what's your plan then for the rest of the race? Are you back out?
I will be, yeah. I think I've got 2 more stints left if we make it there. But the idea is just to keep the car on the road, keep it, chilled, short shifting, on brakes early and off them early, and coast at home basically. Gentle, yeah. Just hope the Ferrari doesn't catch us.
Okay, well, good luck for the rest of it.
Thanks very much.
You almost forget about, as it were, the normalcy of racing, but there's plenty of that going on as well, and that's certainly one of those. And the dog can see the rabbit there as they disappear down towards Vale now.
Except that the rabbit's going to disappear down the hole when Court Oizo, or whoever it is in the Lotus at the moment, brings the car into the pits. It's Jim Brodie, isn't it, in the Lotus Evora?
I've also seen the 89 car, which was well up there, in fact, leading Class 4, Mark Griffiths. Is that a normal pit stop? 89.
Yes,
89 is the Mardi Gras entry.
No, it's the Mark Griffiths.
I'm biting now, chaps. It is a regular stop and a driver change. This.
I think it's Willie Green's turn again soon. So we'll.
I'll check.
Keep an eye on. This is the old BMW.
That old BMW. Isn't
That's
it?
the one. Yep. So that's one that's talking about punching above its weight. I think is the best way to describe that car. Stayed out of trouble, 9th overall, leading its class, and it's so comfortable. Well, say comfortable. Anything can happen, but it's 5 laps in the lead of its class, isn't it? So certainly shouldn't have any reason to lose it. 2 minutes 11 from Phil Keane in the Eclipse Motorsport car. He's got the gap down to 4 laps, so that will go up 5 again as soon as the top cat Mosler comes out of the pits and gets going again. Here he is. There goes the Mosler across the line and putting 432 laps now on the board.
It seems an age now since you were talking about topping 400 laps.
Yes, well, that was the calculation that I was in the middle of when it all started to go wrong. 547 laps is the key number to get 2,000 miles. So we've got to do another 115 laps in the remaining 6 hours, which I think is within the realms of possibility.
Well, that's an interesting calculation. We've got to keep an eye on that one.
I lost the wheel, long and short of it. Not 100% sure. We had a bit of a vibration a few laps earlier. Came in, the guys fixed it, thought they'd fixed it. The car ran great for 3 or 4 laps. Felt the same again, but obviously this time a bit more critically, the wheel fell off, so I couldn't get it back to the pits. So we've lost a good deal of time. But they've changed the drive shaft now, just about to go back out. So hopefully we can get some good lappery in before the end of the day.
And the rest of Synchro, I mean, the Jazz is doing pretty well at the moment.
Yeah, they're going round and round. I've obviously had major issues with that, big engine change, then a gearbox change. Boys from Synchro have been amazing, just worked tirelessly all night. They're good boys, really good guys.
So, if the Civic goes back out again,
Yep.
are you back out in the
Yeah,
car?
I'm going straight back out. I've only done 16 laps in the 2 hours or so that I've been hanging around, so yeah, I'm going to have another go now.
Well, they're working hard, so
They are. Thanks very much. Cheers, bye.
Ho Chi Minh is the politically correct title for sure.
So it's Ho Chi Minh to Hanoi.
And back again. Yeah, although it is Saigon to all the people that live there.
Yeah, you weren't the only ones on the trail. I thought Tim was out there at the same time. Actually, no, you were in. He was in Cambodia.
Yes, yeah, that's right. We were similar parts of the world at the same time. However, we're now, some of us anyway, in Silverstone, and lots of excitement. So I've been watching the progress of Dave Cox's car, because they've had all sorts of things thrown at them. They're currently showing a 6th in class. They're now only 1 lap down on the Carvels, and they're lapping, round about 10 seconds plus a lap quicker. So they've picked up 1 lap on the 82 car. He was, I think when you spoke to him earlier, or Chris spoke to him, he was
I spoke to him actually.
He was targeting a podium finish. It's not that too silly actually at the moment.
Robin, I'm down at, you just talking about the class leaders, I'm down at Brunswick, the BMW number 89. Dave Forsberry's just got out of the car. Not that you'd know it, because you look more awake than me. It's all an illusion though, is it, Dave?
Oh, that's down to the car, not so much me. It's such an easy car to drive. It's down to the team for making an easy car. It's lovely to drive. It doesn't stress you. You just keep out of trouble, go at your own pace, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. So, yeah, really good, really good.
You said it's good on the tyres, good on the brakes.
Good on tyres, light on the brakes, light on the tyres, and it's very easy and comfortable to drive, and that's why we get out looking a little bit fresher maybe than other people. And we don't take any chances, and we're keeping to our own game and not overtaking in silly places like some people out there. So,
you've seen a bit of wild driving out there, have you?
There's a little bit of wild driving, yeah. There's wheels falling off of Hondas in front of me, cars spinning. I mean, it's all going on, but you just try and let the fast cars go, let them get on with it, and then get on with your own pace. So, yeah, it's good out there and quite quick. So, the car's got good pace, and it's easy to, it's relatively easy to maintain with that.
It was the only sane car on the track.
In terms of being, I just said it's the only sane car on the track. In terms of how you feel, I guess it's a case of when the adrenaline's flowing, you concentrate and you feel fine out there. It's when you get back here, is it? You switch off a bit.
Yeah, I'll go for a sleep now, that's for sure. I don't know if I'll get back in the car. Maybe I'll get back in the car again. I think I will. So I'll go for a sleep again and just keep taking sleeps between stints. So it's all fantastic fun. It really is a good car.
Dave, thanks for your time. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Dave Forsberry there, the Brunswick number 89 BMW. Just had a slightly longer than ideal pit stop because they just struggled to get one of the wheels on, but they've got quite a big lead in class, haven't they? So no real dramas for them.
Chris, if you want to go trotting up to the Aquila garage, it's under tow and it's coming through the back of the paddock now. We'll find out why that ground to a halt.
Well, that's easy because it's next door to where I've just been.
Right, well,
it's a nice short walk.
Tell him it's on its way.
Will do.
Now, we have in order at 6 hours or thereabouts. The lead car is the number 3 Top Cat Racing Mosler after 434 laps. From in second place number 2, the Eclipse Ferrari, which is now 5 laps down, with Phil Keane at the wheel. And in third place is the Nicholas Mee Racing Aston Martin, the class leader of Class 3, which is currently perhaps indeed on a pit stop of the number 57 Coroza car, taken that third place back. We saw it lose it as a result of a pit stop earlier on. And then 68 Kevin Clark in the Intersport BMW. Then in 6th place we have 27, that's the Top Cat Racing Marcus Mantis, which is A, leading its class, B in 6th place overall, and C, no doubt giving Top Cats as a team huge enjoyment from the fact that they've got 3 cars in the top 7 at the present moment. And right behind them in 7th place is number 53, the Top Cat Racing Marcos from Class 3, what we've chosen to christen the Orient Express. And well christened it is because it's 4 Japanese drivers and they're doing an extraordinarily good job. They're 4th in class, 7th overall, making up the 3 Top Cat Racings in the top 7. And what a superb achievement that is from Warren Gilbert and his team, irrespective of how much longer that situation lasts. It's really a great tribute to the efforts of him and his team in rising phoenix-like from the ashes of what was a nighttime robbery, which stripped the workshops of all metal and left them with 3 bare chassis, virtually. Actually, I think they were still on the wheels. But they had a major job to rebuild the workshop and to rebuild in preparation for the race. These 3 cars, which are replying and giving them such a splendid vote of thanks by being in the top 7.
Brian, the number 6 Aquila, which is now being pushed up the pit lane, the news on that is that it is a suspected drive shaft failure.
Now that is not a quick thing, is it, on a car of this ilk?
We saw them do 2 drive shafts, remember, in the middle of the night in 23 minutes.
Exactly right. So it's already done 2 drive shafts simultaneously, and they've now got another drive shaft. Plus, they've got the overheating problem that they've had cured. I mean, it's certainly fixable. I just wonder how much willingness there is to carry on trying to fix it.
Well, my guess is that the Aquila will want to take the checkered flag. You know, it has been tagged with unreliability. I think that perhaps arguably a little unfairly, and that therefore the team and the manufacturer may very well want to ensure that it has every chance to take the checkered flag. Now, it's just a personal observation about that. Chris might be able to get a view on it once the team have had the chance to get it into the garage and identify the extent of the problem and to see whether they've got a replacement drive shaft apart from anything else. They seem to be going through them a bit. And I'm sure Chris will come back with that sort of information as and when he can. Now, looking for class positions, number 89, which is back out on the track following its pit stop. Do we know who was taking over in the 89 car, the BMW M3?
Not sure that I do, actually.
Forsberry got out, didn't he? We did ask the question, is it going to be Willie?
Yeah, I posed the question, we never got an answer. It's about right for Willie, but I'm not sure whether they've stuck to the schedule, stuck to the cycle, or whether they've changed the cycle around a bit.
Very possibly. I don't know whether Chris is within earshot, so perhaps that's a question that he can store up and give us the answer for as and when he can. But 89 is the class leader at the moment, and it is 39 laps behind the race leader, whereas the second place number 88 Mardi Gras Motorsport car is 46, so there's quite a substantial difference there, and so it's going to be very difficult to take that class lead away from 89 unless it suffers a considerable failure. In third place in that class is the Red Camel car, the Ivo Bruckers, Henk Tyson, Adam Hahn Seat Leon Formula Renault type engine, 2-litre TDI. So yeah, we don't know who's in that one at the moment as far as I'm aware. Adam Han, by the way, with SG after his name, is from Singapore, we think. So that's the top 3 places in Class 4.
That'd be interesting, Brian, actually, if Chris, once he's worked down his shopping list, can get down to the Red Camel mob, because that was the one that conked out round here, went into the pits, came out, and then did that lurid spin at Luffield.
Yeah.
So they've obviously been in their troubles lately.
They're 50 laps behind the race leaders at the moment. But
just trying to do some more sums on this. It's on the recovery drive that Phil Keane is trying to do. I mean, as I say, it's an awfully long shot because there's a long way to go. But I reckon that if they can close the gap at 5 seconds a lap, then they can pull back 4 laps. Now they're 4.5 laps behind at the moment. They're closing
4.5 seconds.
4.5 laps behind at the moment. And they're closing the gap. It changes on every lap how many seconds he pulls back. On that last lap it was 6 seconds on the lap. It's kind of within range, and it's certainly worth going for and giving it everything you've got. And who knows, by giving it everything you've got, you know, it might even push the top cats into a mistake that they might not otherwise make. So yeah, it's doable and it's watchable, and we've just got to sit it out and watch it and see what happens.
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because by going for it, you also extend the risk to a degree of your own problems, as well as pressing those ahead of you into making problems for themselves. So I don't know.
Precisely so. Do you want to win the race, or do you want to save second?
Exactly. No, and these guys don't do it to finish second, do they?
You don't get points for 24-hour races, do you?
No, but you do get credibility, you get satisfaction, and team satisfaction.
Absolutely. What I mean is you don't get points in a championship. It's not like you're saving points for the championship and saying, okay, well, never mind, we'll just come home second, we'll take the points, thank you.
Oh, no.
Brian, this is, I think, something again that cropped up last night, and I think I'm probably going to. The answer to my question is in the question, if you know what I mean. I'm just looking at the screens about the Aquila, and there's no red light on there suggesting that it's in the pits. Presumably that's because it was taken back to the pits through the back of the pits rather than crossing any beams at the entry to the pits.
That is
absolutely right. Yes, we did cover that at some point.
Yep.
And it doesn't either increase the number of pit stops in the pit stops column on the screen, if you like to count these things. So coming into the pits by a flatbed doesn't count as a pit stop.
Well, now, this is the first time I've seen this message on our screens so far, but it may have been on many times. We've got the black and white flag issued to car number 79, the Synchro Motorsport Honda Jazz, where it's being a bit too jazzy. It's exceeding the track limits. Now, in club racing these days, we see a lot of that because there is a move, a genuine move, I think, by the FIA and national governing bodies like the MSA to contain drivers within what are regarded as the limits of the track. In other words, if you look at the track, you'll see a white line going all the way around both sides of the track. That's what they mean by the track limits. And if you start exceeding those limits, then you're likely to get a black and white flag, which is a naughty boy flag. It means we're watching you, and if we warn you again, that's the last time we will warn you, and you're likely to get a black flag. So it really is a serious issue, which drivers can't ignore, but in an endurance race like this, I think the penalty would probably not be a black flag. It might very well be a drive-through penalty or something of that kind. What do you think, Paul?
Yes, it will be a stop-and-go penalty, but the thing to bear in mind is that because of the way these things work, the marshals and the race officials don't take any notice of who is in the car. So just because somebody gets given a black and white flag doesn't mean that you can then put another driver in and he can get the black and white flag. The warning goes once to the car. Next time you bring the car in, no matter who's driving it.
Right. Now, I think the penalty might be a drive-through penalty.
It's a stop-and-go penalty because of the...
Stop-go.
Yeah.
Right. Team manager of car 99 is being invited to race control. That's my phrase, not, I don't know. Let me just see. It's the MGZR car. Not sure who is the team manager there, but it's the driving combination is Robin Walker, Doug Cole, Simon Byrne and Ben Jakes. Some long time ago, I think Ben was getting into the car, but I'm sure it's been overtaken and that is out of date.
I see both the Rob Carvell 82 and Dave Cox 77 both in the pits. Dave Cox's car has been gradually catching them.
Yeah, but both on the same lap, Robin. 60 laps completed.
Yep.
60 laps behind the race leader.
So there's a race in the pits at the moment between those two.
It is, isn't it? They're both very, very competitive. I think amateur teams, aren't they? Although Dave Cox has been racing for many a long year. His two boys are out there with him, and I forget that there is...
he's the young Australian as well, isn't he?
The young Australian, yeah.
Paul Stubber.
Dave,
Stubber.
that's right.
Dave Stubber.
Dave. Right.
And then in the Rob Carvell car, that's a sort of family car, isn't it? It's Ian, Rob and Dave Carvell, ably assisted by Henry Wright and Kevin Glover in the VW Golf Mark III. Now, 439 laps completed by the race leader, and Phil Keen's efforts, are they being rewarded because he's now only 4 laps behind the Top Cat Racing Mosler?
Well, it's still it's 4.5. So sometimes the screen shows 4, sometimes the screen shows 5. Last 2 laps, it was 4.5 seconds gained on lap 438, 2 seconds gained on that last lap, lap 439. And when they complete lap 440, I'll tell you what the gap is on that lap. Or what the gain is, rather than what the gap is, because, as I say, the gap is 4.5 laps. It's just how much of a half we're talking about. Here comes the race-leading Top Cat Mosler now, rumbling through.
440 it is.
And another 2.5 seconds gained on that lap.
He did a 2:16.359.
Yeah, but you see the gap between. I mean, Phil Keen is driving marvellously fast and everything like that, and but it's just such a long way that he's got to go to catch up the gap. And even though the Mosler isn't being driven as fast, it's still going fast enough at the moment, at least. But as I say, if the pressure starts going on, or if there's a puncture or another safety car, actually safety car is not what we need, because that nearly stops racing for a while and you don't get any gaps closing up at all.
So we're waiting really for the Eclipse Ferrari to come through.
That's in Brooklands at the moment.
Right, here it comes, round through Luffield. Power comes in, accelerates through Woodcote, flashing green light on, and away it goes up to cross the finishing line, and its lap time was a 2:14.168. 2:14.168. That's about 1.8 seconds quicker than the Top Cat Mosler. So it's a very gradual process of eating away at the lead advantage held by the Top Cat's Mosler.
Gradual, and at the moment I'm thinking, Brian, it's a little bit too gradual, but nevertheless we've got a good 2-horse battle between these two, and then behind a marvellous 2-way battle for second in the class. That the battle between the Aston Martin and the Lotus Evora continuing, 49 and 57. They're not on the same lap, I don't think, at the moment after their pit stops, are they?
They have overlapped, so it's getting very close. When last I looked, it was 1 minute 56 seconds, but I'm not sure that lasted too long.
No, so it's less than a lap between them. They are on the same lap, but it's 3/4 or 7/8 of a lap rather than a number of seconds.
The Dave Cox has won the battle of the pits in Class 4. He's come out ahead of Rob Carvell. The Carvell car still being shown as a pit visitor. Whether or not they're doing, they've got a problem other than a straightforward change. Also, in the natural scheme of things, with the Aquila being re-drive shaft, if they are going for it, the Mazda Motorsport, the lead car there in 15th place, the Mad Journos, look as though they're going to be moving soon up into 14th place. Will depend on how long that Aquila is in the pits, of course.
Yes, I'm sure Chris might have some news from what's going on with that Aquila. And in the pit lane, meanwhile, yet another car grinds to a halt. There's a slight uphill rise is part of the problem. As you come out of the last bit of Luffield, then you go into the pit lane, and then that's where the circuit suddenly rises. It's one of the Seat Super Copers. He's managed to fire it up again, and he's on his way. So he'll be coming in to have a word with Chris Hartley.
And the Carville car is now back out to play. So they were 10 minutes ago a lap up on 77 Dave Cox, and now they are a lap down. So 77 moves up to 5th in Class 4 and 82 drops to 6th in Class 4.
That Class 3 lead battle is fascinating, because if you look at their lap times respectively on that last lap, 49 did a 2:20.314, whereas the Coroza car number 57 did a 2:20.134. Very little in it.
Yeah, great stuff, isn't it?
And now we've got a fresh time on the Nick Me Racing Aston, a 2:20.977, and we're waiting for the Coroza car to come through and deliver its verdict. So, very similar lap times from these two cars, and it does mean that for the time being anyway, the Nick Me Racing Aston Martin is holding a very slender and marginal advantage.
But it is a full lap, Brian.
Well, virtually, yeah.
No, it is.
Oh, it is.
Not virtually a whole lap. It is a whole lap, and here comes the Lotus now out of Woodcote, or out of Luffield into Woodcote. That's not the same Lotus, is it? No, that's a different Lotus. But it is a lap and some that separates those two. And so here's the Lotus now, just coming into Brooklands, looking as if he wants to try and dive up on the inside of one of the slower cars. He'll be able to do it coming out of Luffield maybe. But yeah, here he comes now. This is the Lotus that's in 4th place, number 57, and so that's brings it back to 1 lap as far as the screen is concerned. So it's a lap plus.
Yeah.
What about a third of the circuit, something like that?
Yes, it was almost bordering on 2 laps, wasn't it? So briefly it did flash up 2 laps on our screen, but it very quickly reverted to 1 lap advantage to the Aston Martin. But their lap times are relatively similar, although slightly in favour of the Aston Martin. Kevin Clark actually is now in 5th place overall. Remember, we've got the Class 3 battle in 3rd, 4th and 5th place overall. So the Intersport BMW, it is not matching the times of its 2 class competitors. They're doing 2:20 and 2:21 respectively, whereas Kevin's time, or at least it's not Kevin, I think it's Adam Hayes at the moment still, is lapping in 2:24s. So that not likely to get any closer, but of course before the checkered flag is seen, much can change.
Yes, I think another job for Chris in the pits is just to check who's in that Lotus Evora at the moment, the number 57 car, because we had Jim Brodie in it. He's now got out of it, we're pretty sure. Question who's actually got into the car, because I think he's part of the reason that the car is losing ground at the moment.
All right, I'll check it out for you. Just to let you know, the Aquila is just going back out as well, so that was a good turnaround. Of course, they're not giving up. They were never going to give up, and drive shaft. He's fixed it, goes back out. The 93 BMW.
Who's in it now, Chris? Sorry.
I'll go and check. I'm just down a bit from the pit lane, so I'll go and check on them, and I'll go and check on the Evora for you. 93 BMW is in the CTR Alpha Tune car. That's just a routine stop. Might be a little bit longer. They're changing the tyres and they're topping the oil up on that one as well.
Well, whilst Chris is doing that, Paul, I'd like to digress for a moment, if I may, in the interest of the spectators, because I'm delighted. I don't know. I haven't heard from James Tucker or anyone else about the official numbers of people attending the Britcar 24-hour race this year. And whether it's the weather that's brought you out, I don't know. But the crowd numbers look to me to have been very good indeed. And if you are an enthusiast for motorsport, I want to tell you a little bit about the Silverstone Racing Club, because it exists on the outside of Woodcote, just at the, well, almost up at the apex of the corner. They have their own grandstand and their own clubhouse underneath it, and it's an excellent facility, and they do offer membership. Now, you have to move fast if you really want to get on the lists for membership, and this is precisely the right time of year to go in. They'd be delighted to see you, to have a chat with you, to tell you about the advantages of Silverstone Club membership, and you can have a look at the facilities and just think how ideal it would be for an event of this kind. Well, I think for around about £130 a year you get membership of the club, and that gives you the opportunity to go to any meeting and use their facilities, with the exception, it must be said, as far as the grandstand is concerned, of the Silverstone Grand Prix, the Grand Prix for cars, and the MotoGP, where you have to book your seats in the grandstand in advance. Now, there is, I gather, a sort of £200 membership as well, which seems to give you all sorts of other advantages, probably entry to the circuit as well.
Yeah, that's the one that gives you the full entry for every day except Saturday, Sunday of MotoGP and Saturday, Sunday of the Formula One. But you do, of course, get in to see the qualifying days for both, and that's included. It's a smashing deal at 200 squidders, and you and I know how good that clubhouse is.
Absolutely, and they're a delightful bunch who run it, led by Peter and then Janet Caesar, who I think is probably her title. I'm not sure what her title is at the moment. Is she not secretary? That's not good enough. I think she's probably leader of the management team. It is, I think, owned by the circuit, but is it owned by the British Racing Drivers Club or Silverstone Circuits Limited? I'm not sure. But anyway, do call in, ask for details. They'd be delighted to see you. And remember, that is a facility that for the enthusiast of motorsport at Silverstone really is almost unrivaled. So away you go, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, we're racing until 4:30, so you've got ample time. Maybe you want just a little respite from the sunshine. It's a glorious summer's day. Excuse me, there's a lady in the grandstand here reading a book, soaking up the sun.
It's probably your autobiography, Brian.
Oh, no, it ain't.
Don't knock it.
It ain't been written yet. Probably never will be.
Driving news for you. The 57 Lotus Evora, I'm told that's Hal Pruitt's in the car now.
Right.
Remarkable comeback that. Hal was in the car at the start of the race yesterday and got tagged off on the first lap, didn't he, if you remember? And it's up into, what is he, 4th place now? So
yes.
Terrific effort. It was drive shaft on the Aquilia. I said you changed that pretty quick. They said, well, we've had lots of practice now, haven't we? I've done a few over the last few hours, so the team getting pretty slick at their drive shaft changes. And Gareth Evans was in the car when the drive shaft went, and Gareth has gone back in the car, so Gareth Evans in the number 6 machine.
Oh, right, okay, so we did have Bob Burridge in that car, but then it came in under the safety car, didn't it? So it changed whilst it was under the safety car. Okay, thank you for that. Chris?
I think that counts as a Trustwell 12. I reckon that was not too far when you said, Paul, last night, one drive shaft, 12 minutes. I reckon that was probably pretty fair for that little gap there, break. It's not too far off it.
No.
Hey, here it comes.
I know there was a reason that China didn't invited me.
6 goes through and crosses the line. It moves up a place ahead of the Mazda Motorsport number 75, the Journos.
Which is in the pits.
Which is in the pits, I should add. But it means that they're now in 14th place, 58 laps behind the race leader.
But interestingly, I don't think I've ever seen the Aquila not lapping fastest of all on the circuit, except when it's had problems because not only is Phil Keane lapping faster than it, but he's lapping significantly faster than the Aquila at the moment. So that shows the effort that that certainly Phil Keane is putting into this, and he's putting in some pretty good lap times, and they're consistent lap times. This kind of performance is all about consistency. It's no good being able to put in one lap at 2 minutes 10 or 2 minutes 12. You've got to put in every lap after lap after lap. You've got to deal with the traffic. You've got to be decisive in the traffic, but you've got to minimise the risk at the same time. So
that's very much what you get from a professional racing driver.
Well, exactly, and I think the pressure is going to be on Sean McInerney, because he's the guy who's got the ability to do it, but has he got the concentration, the application to put it into effect when the chips are down, when the pressure is on, as it's going to be in the remainder of the race.
One car in the garages is the number 54 BMW M346, the MP Motorsports entry. That will be in for a while. It's had a power steering failure, so they're busy working away. It's obviously quite a big job to strip that one and get that one back out.
Sorry, Chris, I was momentarily distracted. Which car was that?
That was 54, the
right.
54 MP Motorsport BMW.
Yeah, thank you very much. Because in the pits as well is the one next to it, 53, at least it's next to it in the programme, 53, which is the 7th placed Oriental Express. This is the Japanese crew Top Cat Racing Marcos out of Class 3. And that car has had, I hate to say this, a really successful run in the second half of this race. It's done all its overtaking in the second half of the race. The first half of the race, I don't know if they had specific problems with it, or whether they were just dialing themselves in very, very slowly, very, very gently. But they've made up positions through the second half of the race, as other people have had problems, but also by staying out of problems themselves. So that's a really good success story of the people playing catch-up. And I hope this is just a scheduled stop for it, the number 53 car.
And there are still 3 Top Cats in the top 7.
And one of them at the moment, Brian, but long race to go, but 27, if things continue to work as well as they deserve, will at the very least, be a class winner.
Yes, of course, the only Class 2 car out there, but remaining, that is. So full credit to them. The Orient Express is number 53. That is 4th in class, but an all-Japanese driving team, and I think they've done a terrific job. I don't know how much experience they've had of endurance racing in the past, but they've certainly had an impressive visit to Silverstone this year.
Yes, they're a nice bunch too. I went to see them last night when I was doing my pit stuff.
Oh, and you speak the language, don't you?
I can count from 1 to 10, but it doesn't get you very far. They are very nice. They're all really quite diminutive, and most of the Top Cat crew aren't. They're fairly large. And one of the drivers got out. There wasn't any verbal communication between them, but some very heavy patting on the back, which almost knocked this poor little driver over. But they were obviously all getting on very well in a very professional way.
Yeah, I found out where it all went wrong. It all went wrong for them at the very start of the race, whilst the first safety car was out. Because they were up in 9th place at that point, and then whilst the first safety car was out, they lost all the ground, and they've been playing catch-up ever since the first hour of the race. So there's one to look back on for you. This is a point. You've done your plug of the Silverstone Racing Club. For the technically minded, on the TSL website, which is a timing company that looks after Britcar racing amongst other things, on the TSL website after the race you will find documents, PDF documents of every bulletin that was issued throughout the meeting. So all the racing bulletins, all the hourly bulletins from the 24 hours. So you can go through, and I think they're probably going to issue a full lap chart as well on that website. So if you've got something you particularly want to look at, and the sort of thing that I do, you sort of think, well, where did that car actually get to? On Monday morning when you've got the time to do it, you can go through and say, well, how far down was it when it started its recovery drive? So number 53 went well until lap 5, but then disappeared off the lap charts, and has only sort of reappeared on the lap charts since about 3 o'clock in the morning this morning.
from the pits. The engine you can hear in the background is the number 75 Mazda, which is the team of journalists that were going rather well. They'd got themselves up to 15th place. We spoke to Autosport's Ben Anderson this morning, and certainly not the 15th quickest car out there. It's basically not much of an upgrade of a road car, but the Mazda have been running trouble free. They've kept out of problems, qualified 49th, but got themselves up to 15th place and I think 4th in class. But they've had their first real problem. Ben blamed me for this because he said we should never have talked when it was all going well. They had a front left wheel bearing fail when Jethro Bovington was in the car, so the Jota team very efficiently have just replaced that, and Jethro has gone back out now. Also rejoining the fray is that BMW I talked about with the power steering failure. The number 54 MP Motorsport car is back out now.
Well, that journalist's Mazda is under some pressure because, well, it's been in the pits. Dave Cox's car, 77, has been progressing. I think they may be on the same lap now.
They are, yeah. They are, Robin, both on 62 laps adrift of the race leader. How much of a lap is between them, I don't know. But we may know very shortly.
Yes, they've got to wait till they get round to unwind the stagger, haven't we?
Yep. Fastest lap of the race is still number 6, done on 103rd lap. 2 minutes 4.019. Although Paul predicted that we might see it happen in the early hours of this morning, that didn't happen, Paul.
No, it didn't, mainly because the Aquila was at that point still running, but at reduced pace, and we'd heard from, I think it was John Martin at the time, that they were running at reduced pace, and so in fact I think it was you he was talking to, wasn't he?
That's right.
Because we were saying whether Bob Berridge was going to be able to go out and do it, and he said no, because they're not running at that kind of pace at the moment.
Basically, they were anxious about using the top end of the revs, and they were short shifting because that seemed to cause the engine problems.
Or seemed to save the engine problems, yes.
That's right.
The fastest lap then, it was John Martin who set it, unless it gets beaten in the remainder of the race, which I somehow doubt. 20-9 last night, 8:42 to be precise, on lap 103. So, and I can tell you, it was pretty pitch black at that time, at 20-9.
Dave Cox, by the way, I think has gone ahead of number 75.
Yes, he has.
The Nick Mee Aston Martin going through on another lap, and it is continuing to keep its advantage, I'll say, consistent over the Lotus Evora. That's another one we're just going to have to watch unfold, but certainly that gap is not reducing anything like consistently, nor is it going out really consistently. However, the gap is reducing between the first two. No question that it is reducing, but whilst it's reducing, the question is still whether it's reducing enough. We've got 5.5 hours of the race remaining now, and I say on occasions Phil Keane can take a healthy chunk out of the lead. At other times he can't. Now, of course, the other thing was, remember when Mike McInerney was out in the car, he got congratulated when he got back in for doing a nice economical fuel run. Now, as Phil Keane is caning the socks off that car, it's not going to be doing such good fuel mileage, and so the car's fuel consumption is going to drop through or go through the roof. And of course that's going to mean he's going to have to come into pits more often, so we'll check that as well, because that's going to have an impact. The Moser will be more economical, and so as I say, we'll check the impact that has as the Moser goes through onto another lap.
I don't think they're going to be worried about that as much, are they? They're just going to try and get this gap down, but it's worth considering, isn't it? Because the time you make up with these fast laps, you could lose by having to do just one extra pit stop. Will blow a lot of that time you make up on the track.
Yeah, generally the trustworthy rule of thumb is that if you can go faster, then you should. There's no point in trying to save fuel to try and save a pit stop, because the time you save, you then you can't get back just on a pit stop. With fuel dump type things as they have here, I don't think the rule will change that much, but as I say, it's the rule is just to go as quickly as you can, and that last lap, the previous one was 2 seconds difference, 2.5 seconds difference. That last lap was a bit of an improvement from the Top Cats driver, rather than, oh no, it was a slower lap as well from Phil Keane, maybe he got held up somewhere.
Paul, so this race is as much about triumph in the face of adversity as it is about cars going quickly, and another story of a car which isn't particularly running high but which absolutely the team refuses to give up is the number 52 Toyota MR2, which is being run by Forza Motorsport Team Rogue Racing. That's had a number of problems. It's just been in most recently with an under tray problem, but that's the least of their worries really. They've had several drive shafts go, they've had wheel bearing failures, they've had to go back to base in Southam in Warwickshire to go and get an extra set of wheel bearings to sort that one out, and they keep going and they keep going and they're still smiling. And again, it's I said, you're going to finish this race, whatever, aren't you? And they said, yeah, we're going to finish it. If we have to push it across the line, we're going to finish this race.
And that's the beauty of the Britcar race, as I was saying to Steve Wood earlier on. There's no rule which excludes you at any point during the race for being too far behind. The only rule is that at the end of the race, if you haven't completed 70%, I think it's 70% of the race winner's distance, then you're not classified. Now, all that then appears is that you are finished, not classified at finish. So it's not like at certain other races where if you haven't completed a certain distance midway through the race, you get flagged off. So there is every encouragement to keep plugging away, keep trying to get the car to the finish. As in comes the Intersport BMW 68 for what should be a routine pit stop. Just looking down at that stop for number 68. It's 13th stop, not the lightest number of pit stops by any means, but certainly one of the lighter numbers, and a very economical run on that last stint for whoever's at the wheel of the 68 car. Can't quite remember who put in it in the end. I think Brian was telling us it was Adam Hayes, wasn't he, at the wheel of number 68. And he is still in the pits at the moment, and as a suggestion would be, after a long stint like he has just done, then a driver change is an almost certainty. So a possible interview for you there, Chris, should you happen to have the opportunity.
See the Paul Winter Porsche number 66 managed to leapfrog the 53 Top Cat Racing entry during the pit stop, but they're only 49 seconds down the road, so they should be able to get that position back.
They'll get it back in the fullness of time. Certainly they're going more rapidly, and as I say, I'm very impressed by the way that car has really pulled back quite a long way, and of course Paul Winter's Porsche has had its own problems along the way, having had various unscheduled pit stops. Its most recent one, they had a brake change, you'll remember, on that car, pad change on the rear, and that's what kind of delayed that off the leading little battle.
Paul, I'm not sure we've seen that one before. Car 93, stop-go penalty, incorrect pit stop time.
We
not
have
staying in long enough? Or?
Yes, exactly. We have seen it before. Well, I've been staring at the screen most of the day, so I won't guarantee I've seen every message, but I've seen most of them. And we have seen it before, and what it is exactly as you were about to suggest, Robin. It's too short in the pits. Every pit stop has to be 90 seconds. and if you come out anything earlier than 90 seconds, then you have to come back in again and sit out the remainder in the penalty box, which, as it says on the screen, is an extra 6 seconds for that particular car. So somebody needs their watch checking. Or maybe the driver was looking into the sun and didn't see the man who was holding up the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 fingers or something, but he just went.
Paul, from the pits, I'm here with Adam Hayes. Adam, good stint that for. Go on. Talk to me.
Yeah, that was a really good run, really consistent, really good times. Got a lot to make up after our alternator failure earlier. We've got 5 hours to make it up, so we're working really hard. We put some fresh rubber on now. We're going to push, get the 12 laps we lost back.
At duet again before the end of the race?
Yeah, I've got one more stint each.
Now, what do you do in this downtime? It's hard to get some sleep in the daylight, I guess, for you, isn't it?
No sleep. Too much adrenaline.
All right, and other than the issue earlier on, how's the car feeling now?
Yeah, going really well. Keep off cross. It's not say too much at this moment in time, but other than the alternator failure, we've done really well. So, yeah.
Drop your target time. The car's been through a lot already, hasn't it? You're not driving it absolutely flat out, presumably, just to be within your limits a little bit to get it home.
Yeah, we've done that the whole race. It's a long race, so we've kept it sensible the whole way through. It's paid dividends so far. It's a shame about the alternator failure earlier because we lost 13 laps there. But yeah, still doing well. Let's keep our fingers crossed and see what happens. Yeah.
All right, well done. Thanks for your time. Cheers very much there. So.